Welcome to this meeting of the Monroe County Public Library Board of Trustees. We'll start as usual by introducing ourselves, and if you care to share what you're reading. Kathy, if you want to start us off.
My name is Kathy Loser, and I just picked up the book, The Personal Librarian. It's about a historical novel about J.P. Morgan's personal librarian who had to hide her identity because she was black.
I'm Jamie Burkhart, and I have just checked out Harlem Shuffle by Colson Whitehead, one of the best books of the year, but I haven't read it yet.
I'm Chris Harrison, and I just started reading Faceless by Catherine Lasky.
I'm John Walsh. I just started Piranesi by Susanna Clark.
I'm Marilyn Wood, and I'm reading Carrie Fisher's Wishful Drinking. It's entertaining and a fast read.
I'm Kari Essery, and I'm reading an autobiography about Queen Noor, the former Queen of Jordan. It was published a while ago.
Hi, I'm Fred Reisinger, and I'm right in the middle of it, a book called Keep Sharp, Build a Better Brain at Any Age, written by Sanjay Gupta, MD.
Thank you, everyone. Our first item is the consent agenda, where we approve minutes, monthly financial report, monthly bills for payment, personnel report, and our 2022 board meeting calendar. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments, questions, discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And turn it over to Marilyn for highlights from her monthly report.
I'd like to talk about two important events that are coming up in February. The Friends have two events, one being the Power of Words, which is subtitled Changing Our World, One Author at a Time. It's a biennial author event, and this year we're very happy to present Jacqueline Woodson, who is an internationally acclaimed and award-winning author of more than 30 books, and she will be giving a talk at the Buzzkirk Chumley at 7 p.m. on February 5th, and that talk is free to the public. Her works have focused on African American society, gender, and she places boundaries in her books: social, economic, physical, sexual, racial, then has her characters break through both the physical and psychological boundaries to create a strong and emotional story. Among her numerous awards, she received the 2014 National Book Award for Young People's Literature for Brown Girl Dreaming. She's a 3-time winner of the Coretta Scott King Book Award in 2001, 15, and 21. And she was also named a MacArthur Fellow in 2020. The Power of Words is held in conjunction with a special exhibit that the Friends of the Library is hosting. It will be here in these rooms for 7 weeks, beginning on February 1st. It's a traveling exhibit from the National Center for Children's Illustrated Literature, and it's called Our Voice, celebrating the Coretta Scott King Illustrator Awards. Those awards are an annual event that are awarded by the American Library Association for books by Black illustrators. And Coretta Scott King Book Awards emphasize the importance of children's literature on America's cultural landscape. The exhibit and Power Awards programs will be part of our city's celebration of Black History Month. So I gave each of you a program that is celebrating Black voices, and it describes a bit of the programs that we're going to be offering that are here at the library in the city, at IU, and throughout the community from January through March. Some of those are already beginning. So I invite all of you to attend, to participate in this opportunity to learn more about engaging readers and expanding their horizons by finding out more about what those books entail. Yes.
I noticed the event is free, of course, but do you still have to get a ticket?
You do get a ticket. Yes, and there is a place on the Friends website, and there's also a reception following, so if anyone is interested, that is a ticketed event. That is a paid event.
Any other questions for Marilyn? Well, those sound like great events. Thank you for that. And, okay, next we have old business, an update on branch work. It says branch planning, but we're past the planning now.
Yes, very much so.
Although it seems like we're always planning.
It kind of does. So there's a giant hole in the ground near Bachelor Middle School right now. If you haven't taken the time to drive out there and look, you certainly should. It's tremendous progress. The excavation of the basement and the drive entrance is now complete. We did hit some small amount of limestone requiring rock removal. That's been completed. We don't know yet if we've gone over our allowance for the rock removal, so Strasser is itemizing that for us. They've installed the building pad in the basement area, currently laying stones for drives, and have begun excavation for foundations and continue the miscellaneous grading around the retention areas. We're setting up a documentation camera for a time-lapse video of construction from start to finish and working with a third-party EarthCam to provide the service, so that's going to be really cool. There's one item for the exterior of the building that's still under review, and we're looking at a choice between two products before making a decision. We're planning to place orders for equipment for the kitchen, the automatic sorter, and other technology very soon. We'll also soon begin planning for and ordering our Southwest Branch collection. And finally, we expect to see the actual foundation go up in the coming weeks. So again, we encourage everyone to drive out there and say hi to our friends at Strasser when you drive by, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Will there be a link to the time-lapse camera on the site?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the plan. I think right now we're trying to figure out exactly where we position it because there's no perfect place on the site to get a good view of the construction process. So that's kind of where we left it with them last week, so it'll be exciting.
And I believe they visited the site yesterday so that they could determine where they were going to place it.
Other questions? Well, thank you, Greer. Good update. Now things are really happening after all these
Yep.
years, so it's great.
And we're taking advantage of the fact that we have the time to order these things in advance because we know that we've heard for any number of things, 26 weeks, 26 weeks, 26 weeks. So we're just going to hedge our bets there. And we already have some of our network equipment downstairs in this building so that we won't be caught flat-footed at the end.
Is the conflict of interest an action item?
No.
Okay. So, next up, we have conflict of interest, disclosure statements.
And this is just an annual review. So there is a statement within the packet, and if any of you, as you read it over, find that you have a conflict, if you would please fill that out and return to me as soon as possible.
And our next item is an action item. So do we have a motion to approve authorization for board president to sign monthly Board of Trustees business documents?
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second, and this practice was started with COVID, so we weren't passing around papers and pens and that. And the motion is to continue this practice through 2022, and then it will be revisited in January of 2023. Any questions or discussion?
I think it's a nice idea. I mean, especially like right now with a surge.
All in favor of approving the authorization for board president to sign monthly Board of Trustees business documents, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And next, do we have a motion to approve the resolution for cancellation of outstanding checks?
So moved.
Second.
We have we have a motion and a second, and Gary's going to tell us more about this.
This is just a year-end duty that we have to do every year, write off checks, outstanding checks that are over 2 years old, and happy to answer any questions.
How many do we usually have? A lot or little?
I don't have the resolution in front of me, but I would say a little, less than, I don't know, maybe around 20.
And these are checks we wrote that have never been cashed? Yeah, all told, it seems way less than like $1,000.
Oh, yeah. And many times it appears to be the same people, just a few people who haven't cashed checks.
Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the resolution for cancellation of old outstanding checks, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And we will continue to hear from Gary, but first we have a resolution, or a motion to approve the resolution to transfer money to the rainy day fund.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Gary?
And this relates to the 2021 operating surplus, which was $1,841,025. We would transfer all of that from the operating fund to the rainy day fund if we could, but there's a limit of 10% of the 2021 budget. So that's why the amount we're transferring is less. It's $1,176,781. Any questions? Yes.
What are we doing with the rest of that money?
Okay, so that money is staying in the operating fund. So we have some available funds in the operating fund that are accumulating. And as we go through the 2023 budget process this year, that's going to be one of the topics of discussion.
Will we be spending down some of that with the branch? And, you know, I know we've adjusted the budget
Well,
on that.
We've actually yes, we're going to be spending some of that down with the branch. So we'll know where we're at when the branch is done, really, as far as what's, totally left over from that project.
Was the final surplus more than we anticipated the last time we adjusted the branch budget? Because I know we used some of the okay.
Yes, it was. We were estimating 1.7 million, and it turned out to be 1.84. So, yes, about 140,000 more than what we were estimating.
And some of that was the fortunate place we found ourselves when we bought the bonds, when we actually received more than the face value, and we had anticipated an expense being incurred for issuing the bonds. So that one was just like, extra money that came in.
It's surprisingly hard to spend money during COVID when you can't do anything and no one has anything to sell you and so on. So, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the resolution to transfer money to the rainy day fund, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And next we have, do we have a motion to approve the fee adjustment for architectural services?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Marilyn, can you explain this to us again? Maybe after.
Welcome to the Monroe County Public Library. We're so glad
After we take our airplane ride, this is what it reminds me of every time I hear that I'm on a plane ride.
keeping your face fully covered for the duration of your visit. Thanks also for maintaining at least 6 feet between yourself and anyone else. Let's keep each other safe and healthy here at MCPL. I hope to see you again soon.
So this proposal is from the additional scope of work that was required to design the branch. So as we started, you all recall that we were talking about a one-story, 21,000 square foot building, and then as we began to look at both the site and the design needs, and it became the garage beneath, and there were some additional changes that were made to the site just for the layout itself. It changed the work that was required from the architects. So this is a reflection of what the estimated costs of construction are. We started with an estimated cost of construction that was $593,000. Then we had an estimated cost of that went up to $7,400,000. I forget what I said that wrong. Anyway, our fee was started at $7 million. Excuse me. Our fee started at $593,000 on a $7 million project. The project itself is now over $10 million, but we came to a somewhat of a compromise position to say that we were adjusting for the scope of work as opposed to the market that was so volatile at the time. So the increase is about $132,000 that it would make it a total payment of $725,184.
Thank you, Marilyn. Questions or discussion on this adjustment to the architectural services fee?
Will they ever come back again and say they need to be adjusted again because of other things?
They should not. This
Okay.
is a change in our overall agreement.
Okay.
The only thing that could change, I suppose, would be if we ask for additional services.
Okay.
Thank you to whoever did the compromise, because I'm sure it could have been higher.
We went back and asked for a garage underneath the building, which was a pretty major shift from the original plan, so.
Because the land sort of lent itself to that.
It did indeed.
And-
And,
And
yeah,
the tree issue, it
Right.
helped with that.
Right.
yes.
Other discussion? All in favor of approving this fee adjustment for architectural services, bringing the total payment to $725,184, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And do we have a motion to approve the new naming policy, naming opportunities policy?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion.
So let me remind us of the context here. So we started to talk about this many months ago, and we invited Tom Morrison from IU, and he provided some of the parameters that they have established and ways in which they go forward with naming. And so I took that information, borrowed some information from other libraries that have similar policies, and then created this one. So this, at this point in time, this has not been reviewed by Tom for any legal needs or changes, but what I wanted to do with you was get approval for this in concept before we would take it for legal review. There are a couple of other things that are in it that would require their help legally in terms of contract language and/or ways in which people would submit their request for naming, which I would ask their help in creating those documents. But overall, just to walk you through this, this gives the board the authority for naming, and so the board president would appoint a small committee of board members to receive the request and review them and do whatever research or work they would need to do, and then bring a decision back to the board, and then it would be the board's decision to approve and to establish the parameters for that. And then there's just an overview of the process that it would take. And then the duration of those naming rights, and I think we talked about this quite a lot when we had the meeting with Tom. Effectively, it's described in the way that they would remain as long as the facility exists or has the same use. But if for some reason it's being used in a different way, let's say the meeting rooms became the children's space or something like that, obviously we could decide not to use the name anymore. And then there are also conditions for rescinding a naming agreement that are listed in here. And then there are categories for naming, because I know that we wanted to talk about a couple of things, not only those things that are related to fundraising or philanthropic, but also for service. So if there was a desire to name or a request to name something after someone who had given considerable service to the community or the library in some way that was distinguished, then there may be a way to name after them as well. And then there's a bit about just general guidelines and signage and recognition and how that would be carried out under the library's policies or procedures for signage in general. So this is the sort of the guideline or the ways in which we would approach naming. I don't know if you have any other questions or things that you'd want to pursue, but these areas of a policy are basically what I've seen covered in others.
It seems to, I mean, it covers the things that stand out, and from our discussions with the gentleman from IU who advised us at a board meeting on a lot of these issues. We know the ability to rescind is, important with all the cases of that we've seen in the news and at IU even recently. Other questions or discussion?
I just feel a little uneasy about it, just me personally.
About naming
Yeah.
or, okay.
Just the whole idea. But I think I'm in the vast minority, which is fine. That's why you have a board.
Well, thank you, Marilyn, for doing this work, because I think you've been very thorough in going through the process so that people, will this be posted
You mean
as a policy?
yes. Yeah, it would be a public policy.
And we still don't have to name anything, but now we have a policy, so we
Right.
can at least look at the opportunities that might present themselves. Any other discussion?
I'm just curious, has this been brought up? I mean, have people asked about this in the past?
Our foundation has asked specifically because they have felt like their ability to raise funds would be greater if they have this. And in fact, we actually have one that's awaiting. I don't think it's tied only to naming. I think the money is probably going to be available to us regardless, but they are interested.
And would this apply to smaller scale things, like I know we have a auditorium in Luddy Hall where people can pay to get their name on a seat, and it's, much less, or they can donate, than, having a building named after oneself. But that opens up those opportunities to people with.
It can be. Johnson County here in Indiana I saw some of the opportunities that they have, and it was anywhere from naming of a room, which would follow that 20% rule that we heard, to naming benches and other things that, they put a dollar amount with it. So I think that's where the board would come in, where there would be, perhaps I would work with the foundation and we could establish a few things that they think would be really easy to raise money for, and then bring that to you. And then the board would approve what those categories are.
Now, the committee that would be formed, are those ad hoc committees that the board would establish when it came to naming, or would it just be kind of an ongoing board, subset of the board?
I think you could set it up as you like, but my guess is that it would be an ongoing one, because once you started to figure out how to do it, you want to have that consistency for a while.
Any other discussion? All in favor of, again, provisionally approving this pending legal review, the naming opportunities policy, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
And the ayes have it. And do we have a motion to approve the alumni agreement lighting proposal contract?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and Brian is going to give us some more details.
Hi, I'm Brian. I'm the facilities manager here at the library. When I was here in September, giving my annual kind of update on the building services department, I talked a little bit about a grant opportunity that I had been made aware about from the city of Bloomington, where we would partner with them, and it was a matching grant up to about $10,000 for some kind of energy initiative. And so after a small energy audit, somebody came and walked around. Kind of the low-hanging fruit was to continue with our lighting work. And certainly, since we have started changing out some of the lighting around the library, going back to about 2016, we've been seeing declines in our energy usage, and therefore our energy bill coming down. That has kind of plateaued. There is obviously still some lights that we can work on that need to be worked on. But again, we've kind of plateaued with that, with the work that we're kind of able to do. But we were looking at continuing on with some of the work. One of the things then that kind of came forward after my proposal to this board in September was a different kind of partnership where with Duke Energy and also the city, where they would come in, they would swap out kind of all the lights at once and embark on what's called this energy sharing. And so because of the matching grant opportunity, it would normally be about a 5-year process, that there would be some of this energy savings and sharing going on. But because of the grant opportunity that the city is offering, that takes it down to kind of a 3-year service agreement that we're looking at here. And so what I believe you have there in the packet is the agreement with the company that would actually do the install. Illumia, they would subcontract a local company here in Bloomington called PQ Electric, and they are the ones that would do the actual install. And so then at the end of the term, the lighting equipment then should become ours, and we should see significant savings at that point in time and hopefully get us over this plateau hump that we are currently stuck at.
And Brian, can you talk about how many lights we think would be replaced?
Yeah. So they are, have to go back to my notes here. Well, the number's not jumping out at me here, but it was well over 1,000 lights that are going to be replaced. Everything from tube light bulbs like what we see here and recessed bulbs here, but outside lights as well, which is where a lot of our energy hogs are right now. And again, we're looking at potentially to at least a half, maybe as much of maybe even a little bit more than that in lighting use as far as kilowatt hours decreasing.
And overall, our monetary investment in this is less than $10,000, correct?
Yes.
Does this include this library and the branches, or just this library?
It's only a City of Bloomington grant opportunity, so for right now, it only includes this particular building. It does not include Ellettsville.
I just want to clarify, you're changing the actual fixtures, not the bulbs.
Just the bulbs. So above the light fixtures, there's a device called the lighting ballast. And so whenever we move to more LED bulbs, we can remove the lighting ballast, which will also down the road save us in maintenance costs and also in maintenance labor for having to replace those ballasts whenever they fail. Sometimes when you see lights like this flickering, sometimes it's not the bulb, it's the ballast that's actually going on that. So removing all those, again, will save us money on the equipment as well as the labor.
And they'll be doing that as well.
They do all that as well, yes.
And then if there's a problem with a couple lights or maybe a half a dozen lights, they come in and take care of it right away?
Yeah, so then during that 3-year term, then they are responsible for all the maintenance on that as well. So we'll have to find other ways to keep our maintenance employees busy because for at least that 3 years, they won't be changing a whole lot of light bulbs. Obviously, all the previous work that we have done on existing LED, switching over existing LED lights, although all that equipment will remain in place, it will just be other equipment that hasn't already been transitioned out.
And the city is using this company as well?
This Illumia, I think we are the only ones out of the grants that were proposed that is pursuing this particular endeavor at this point.
So they make LED lamps in this form factor, like the old fluorescent?
They do,
Yeah.
yes, yep.
And have you found, as we've switched over to LED, have you found their lifespan to be more or less what's promised?
Maybe not as great as what's promised, but they are definitely longer, yes.
And do you have an estimate or, ballpark range of what the dollar amount of savings might be?
So they are anticipating that our energy cost savings would be about $26,000
Annually.
annually,
Oh,
yes, yes.
annually. And we're investing about 10,000, yeah?
Yeah.
That's
For
a
3 years? Is it 10,000 for 3 years or 30,000 for 3 years?
No, it's $10,000 up front. Yeah.
So even if they're doubly optimistic, we make more than our money back.
And we will share that cost savings with them for the 3 years.
Yes.
And then at that point in time, we would receive the entire amount of savings.
Other questions or discussion? All in favor of approving the Illumia Agreement lighting proposal contract, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And for our monthly update this month, we have an update from Greer on our continuous improvement process.
Okay, so I'd like to give you an update, and this is a somewhat conclusive update on this process. I know we've shared bits and pieces about this initiative over the course of the last year or so. Tonight, I'd like to summarize the initiative from the start and explain each step in the process and then conclude with an update on where we're going next. So continuous improvement started as a conversation among all library staff about what we could do better as an organization, and an acknowledgement that we can and should do this process ourselves, something akin to an internal review. It was designed to focus on systemic issues surrounding organizational structure, internal communication, and workplace culture. Dialogue has been the cornerstone of the entire process. It began by listening to feedback and concerns, and then continuing to share insights and developments with everyone on staff, and to listen as we conducted the work. The goal's been to make continuous improvements in key areas of operations and workplace culture in order to be more effective in carrying out our mission in service to the community. So the process began with Staff Day in 2020. We convened 13 small groups led by peer facilitators who themselves then compared notes from those discussions to identify themes. The themes were turned around for staff to review and add additional input. Those themes were clarification of roles and responsibilities with regard to specific positions and workflows, constructive and consistent accountability measures for job performance and recognition of good work, improved training and development plans, including onboarding, ongoing skills training and professional development, and improved communication and collaboration, including effective tools and adopting best practices for internal communication. These 4 themes then became 8 action items, each with its own dedicated team comprised of staff from across the library. Under roles and responsibilities, we had 1 team dedicated to reviewing the customer service department structure and positions. That was what we used to call COCU. 1 team dedicated to reviewing the access and content services department structure and positions, or ACS. And 1 team dedicated to reviewing the role of the strategist and its impact on structure and leadership. Under accountability and consistency, we had a team looking at the current staff evaluation and work plan procedures for improvements, and reviewing our current hiring procedures and retention practices for improvements. Under training and support, we had a team focused on reviewing our current onboarding and training program and proposing improvements both holistic and individualized or department and job specific. And under communication and collaboration, we had a team reviewing our legacy intranet tool, which we called Lint, and proposing solutions to the current functional problems with that tool and to identify new opportunities for internal communication. We had 1 final team propose a set of best practices for internal communication and collaboration in the hopes of creating a more inclusive and participatory workplace environment. Fast forward to first and second quarter of 2021. These 8 teams met from March to August, more or less. They held formal meetings once a month or more as needed. They conducted research on organizational culture, both library-specific and beyond, conducted interviews with peer libraries and local and regional organizations, and conducted internal interviews with MCPL staff across all departments. Some staff did serve on more than 1 team. Other staff served as go-to resources for areas of specialization or particular interest, but all staff participated in the review and feedback process. By the fall of 2021, proposals were presented to the leadership team in August, September, and October. Team members from each team were invited to formally present their proposals and answered questions during these leadership meetings, which were recorded and then shared with all staff. Proposals were subsequently reviewed by all staff who provided input via comments and questions within the shared docs themselves once the proposals were posted, and via staff-wide surveys which were sent out for each proposal asking for feedback on those proposals. These survey results were remarkably meaningful because they provided additional insight and considerations on a given action item, but they also demonstrated a clear investment in the process of continuous improvement and in the organization itself. Then the administrative team, that would be Marilyn, Josh Wolf, and myself, reviewed the proposals along with the leadership feedback and the staff-wide feedback. In some cases, we went back to the teams and had requests for modifications to their proposals for various reasons. In other cases, we adopted the proposals outright. One particular proposal, the one focusing on access and content services, roles and responsibilities, generated so much staff-wide discussion that we conducted a lengthy and iterative follow-up review before deciding on appropriate solutions. Finally, all proposals were posted to a shared Google Drive for all staff for reference and recording purposes. So now we're in 2022. We have a roadmap for implementation. Some of these proposals for change have already been implemented as of the start of the year. For example, teams 1 and 3's proposals resulted in structural change to our public services areas and our leadership team. This involved the discontinuation of the role of the strategist in favor of department and branch managers with core staff assignments. Previously, most staff were expected to work at any place across the library system in terms of public service points and reported to a small group of co-managers supervising upwards of 60 employees. Teams 3 and 6 proposals resulted in the creation of a new organizational development department and 3 requisite positions, 2 of which have already been filled. And Team 8's proposal resulted in immediate changes to all staff meeting attendance options and minutes formats for standing teams. Other proposals that we're working on in 2022, we have updated job descriptions, roles, and the creation of new positions within Access and Content Services. That's the proposal we did the iterative follow-up review for. Our improved intranet solution, Hapio, which we introduced to you all a few months back, is now in the development phase with a small internal implementation team, and we expect to go live in about a month and a half. Our performance management program was proposed, and we will be adopting parts of this around Q3 of this year, with an expectation to go full scale with this at the start of 2023. Our hiring and retention practices are currently involving updates in our hiring guidelines and hiring managers' training plans, and we're working with other libraries and organizations on how to successfully form and facilitate an internal diversity council among staff. For training and development, our new organizational development manager, Logan Muma, started earlier this month, hit the ground running, and is already reviewing all of our training, certification, compliance, and professional development practices. He'll be coordinating all training and development plans for staff in partnership with department managers and his own team. Those 2 positions are dedicated to staff training and support on our library catalog and various discovery systems and our ever-evolving enterprise technology platforms. And finally, the proposal to improve our communication norms and increase transparency between our management and staff will find us drafting and adopting a communication philosophy statement, modifying our staff meeting structure, and facilitating more involvement and sharing during those meetings, providing more effective ways for staff to share ongoing feedback through Hapio, and standardizing our meeting minutes, agendas, and communication processes concerning operational decision-making. So we got our work cut out for us in 2022. There are 4 important outcomes for this initiative as we see them. The first is it will improve our structure, clarify roles, and develop best practices for communication and collaboration across the library. And this in turn will help us be more effective in executing our mission in serving the public. And all of it will lead to a greater engagement and ultimately trust within the library, which is very important. Second, it's solving problems already, particularly at service points here at downtown, at Ellettsville, and in outreach services. Things like procedural consistency, team building within departments and at service locations. And it does allow for audience and/or service area specialization for most staff, leading to increased job satisfaction and improved performance. Third, it was important work that took time and effort and no small amount of trust to conduct effectively. And doing this during a pandemic was actually very beneficial because it helped us focus on improving our organization amidst so much uncertainty. And workflow irregularities did afford time and mental space needed to do this work. And finally, by doing this together, doing this internally, we're actively building our own future in terms of workplace culture and mutual trust and support among staff at all levels. So as the name suggests, continuous improvement doesn't stop. With these implementation plans, sort of an ongoing assessment and making ongoing adjustments will be crucial to making all of these plans work. We also want to thank everyone on staff for participating in this process. There's a lot of energy and commitment and belief in doing this, but once you organize a project of this scale and get everyone involved, it becomes quite heavy and extra work in some respects. And everyone on staff took it on and was supportive and provided very constructive and meaningful feedback. So we thank all MCPL staff for that. And we have learned by way of this dialogue that we can do this type of work together. And maybe more than anything else, everybody at MCPL really loves working here. So I'm happy to answer any questions at all about continuous improvement.
I just have a comment. It seems to me that years ago, we hired consultants to do this kind of thing, right? And congratulations on doing a remarkable amount of work and thought, and I know this is very hard work. So congratulations to you all.
Thank you. And part of it, I think we've always said, is the devil's in the details. I can't tell you how many Gantt charts we had, just to make sure we didn't forget anything.
That's impressive. Good, congratulations.
Other questions, comments? Well, you thanked everyone, Greer, but I want to say it again, thank you and others who helped lead the effort and everyone who participated in it. You know, just a lot of long, hard work that went into it, and I'm sure we'll see the we are seeing the benefits of the changes, and will continue to as time goes on. Thank you for the thorough review of a long process. And now it's time before our next meeting for public comment. If there are any members of the public who would like to address the board, please come to the podium, state your name, and share your thoughts with us. Seeing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I just have one, sorry. One comment. I just want to tell everybody that I had a person that talked to me and said she was very pleased about being able to use the library website to find out where to get and how to use the site to get the COVID-free tests. So she was very impressed with that. So I said I would pass that along.
And before we end the meeting, I would just like to take a moment to recognize John Walsh, our president. This is his last meeting. He has been with us for 16 years and has given us his service, his time, his dedication, and his hard work. And we are very grateful for all the years you've spent on the board, and we hope that we will see you again on the board maybe in the future. But for now, you have free Wednesday nights. I know you've already been looking at ways to fill them up, but we will miss you for sure here on the board. So on behalf of the library board, the leadership of the Monroe County Public Library, and the staff, we would like to present you with a token of our appreciation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Do you want me to open this on camera? Thank you, everyone. I'll have some words to say after I open this. It's like Christmas all over again. That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Well, it's been an honor to serve on the board all these years, and I was speaking to someone today and remembering, I'm sure there's more, but 2 additions, renovations at Ellettsville, I think 2 big ones here at least, and now capping it all off with a new branch. And it's been a pleasure to work with Marilyn and Sarah Laughlin before Marilyn and everyone else on the staff. And I'll miss all of you, but I hopefully will be around. Certainly I'll be there to check out the new branch as soon as that's open. So thank you very much. And now do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed, nay. We're adjourned, and we will move into our, I will call to order a meeting of the Board of Finance for the Monroe County Public Library. Our first order of business is to elect a president and secretary of the Board of Finance. So I will move to nominate Chris Harrison for president and Kari Essery for secretary of the Board of Finance. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of electing Chris Harrison as president and Kari Essery as secretary of the Board of Finance, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And now I'll turn it over to Gary to review our investment report and policy.
So for 2021, we were estimating that the operating surplus would be about $1.7 million. The actual 2021 operating surplus is a little over $1.8 million. And it'll go towards construction of the new Southwest branch. In this report, we look at the December 31 cash balances, and we look forward to a year of construction and planning for the branch opening. The total library cash balance at December 31 was just under $20 million. The two bonds that were sold in October account for most of the increase from last year's balance, which was about $10.7 million. Going forward in 2022, we will be spending down that cash as we pay for the branch construction. Operating costs will begin to rise in 2022 as we get close to the opening of the branch. And in 2023, with nearly a full year of operation, we should see the full impact of the new branch on operating costs. So the third page of this report is the operating surplus analysis report. And I'm not going to spend much time on that tonight, but I will just say that as we go forward, it will be a good way for us to measure the impact of the branch, the new branch cost, and analyze what makes up that bottom line for 2021, $1.8 million. We'll see how that, of course, it will not stay that high as we go forward, but we will still, it looks like we will still have a surplus as we go forward. So we're in a period of rapid growth in terms of assessed value and statewide personal income. The question is, once the branch is in operation, how much will our surplus be? We will see. And then the next report in the packet is the financial activity related to the branch construction project. And then the final section of this report is the investment policy. And we have not made any changes to the investment policy in 2021. So at this point, I would like to open it up for any questions you might have on anything in the report.
So the report on page 3, will you kind of keep that same format so we can just sort of track that spending?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It'll be very interesting.
It will.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions for Gary? And that's it for this meeting. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of adjourning the Board of Finance meeting? Please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.